Hi friends, and welcome. Today we're going to be talking about surviving under pressure. Now, most of you will probably recognize this item. It's the blood pressure cuff. And you know, when you make that trip to the doctor, the nurse or the doctor, sometimes both, they're going to use that to check your blood pressure, aren't they? And the main thing we assume they're looking for is to make sure blood pressure is not too high. But of course, the other thing they're checking is to make sure it's not too low. You see, we need some amount of blood pressure just to continue to function, to continue to live. And I know we all know those people who have said, maybe it's some of us who have even made the statement, well, I work better under pressure. Yes, of course you do. We all do. You've got to have some amount of pressure or you're dead. On the other hand, we don't want to have so much pressure that it causes us or something inside us to erupt or explode, do we? Now listen, the other day I had to go to the gas station and get some gas in my car, and I pulled in. They were really busy, and I just picked the wrong time to go, I guess, and I checked out all the lanes. They're all backed up, but I pulled in behind this one guy at the end, and he's only one car there, and I pulled up, and listen, by all appearances, it looks like he's almost done. I mean, the handle is back in the pump. He's standing there between the car and the pump. Looks like any second he's going to get in his car and drive away. So I pull up behind him. I'm thinking, oh, how fortuitous. I'm going to be in and out of here in no time. Well, I pull up behind him. I sit there. He doesn't move. And in fact, realize when I look at him, he's standing there with his phone in his hand. He's looking at his phone. And I thought, oh my goodness, come on, guy, you're being a little bit rude here. I'm starting to get a little bit ticked, you know, and he's a little bit rude, a little inconsiderate. Come on, put your phone away, get in your car. And I happened to look over to the left, like 2 lanes over. It looks like that pump is empty. So I throw it down and I whip around him and into that other lane over there and pull up to the pump. And as soon as I get up to the pump, I realize why it's empty. There's a sign on the pump, out of order. You have got to be kidding me. Out of order. So I ease up out of there, look down both ways, and they're all backed up at least 2 deep, except for the one that I just left. And I'm thinking, okay, that guy has got to be gone by now. So I'll pull back around, back to the same one where I started, and the same guy is still there. I mean, and he's still standing there between the car and the pump looking at his phone. And I thought, okay, put your phone in your pocket, get in your car and leave. Well, he looks up, he sees me, and he sure enough puts his phone in his pocket. But instead of leaving, he reaches out, gets the handle out of the pump, puts it in his car, and starts pumping gas. So in all of that time, not only had he not finished, he hadn't even started. Oh man, that got to me. That hit the boiling point. I got beat red in the face. I started pounding on the steering wheel and I started shouting and yelling at this stupid idiot. Now, okay, fortunately, and let you know, my window was rolled up. It was not down. So in retrospect, I'm going to choose to believe that he couldn't actually hear me. But had he looked at me, he would have realized I was getting extremely angry. And yet he continued his slow, methodical approach to pumping the gas, paying at the pump, getting in his car, and slowly pulling out of the spot. And of course, I immediately whipped down into, very manly, fast way, jump out of my car, going to be very efficient, pumping my gas. And as I did that, I had 2 realizations. One, I realized, no matter what I had invested there, all that getting angry did not really change anything about the speed at which that guy pumped his gas. It just didn't. I invested all that emotional, physical energy pounding on the steering wheel, shouting at the guy, but it didn't really change anything. Number 2, I realized a lot of us probably have a lot of pressure building up inside of us and we don't even know it. Because you see, I didn't think I had had a bad day that day. I thought I had gotten plenty of sleep the night before, so I thought everything was fine. Just like sometimes when we make that trip to the doctor, right, and checks our blood pressure, he says, oh, your blood pressure's a little high, and you're kind of surprised. I didn't know it was high. I didn't know I had anything going on. I felt fine. So same thing there. Now, admittedly, listen. I know, 2020, has been a crazy, wild, weird, different year, hasn't it? I mean, so many of us have had different pressures we've had to deal with. Some of us, yes, have had more pressures we've had to deal with. I understand that. So what I want to give us and share with us and encourage us is some ways, some things we can do to help maintain those pressures at a healthy level. So that we don't get to a point where we're boiling over, where we are lashing out verbally or physically at other people, whether it be a stranger who's pumping gas or a coworker or neighbor or friends, family, or loved ones. So here we go. Number one, I think, I want to suggest to us, try to keep ourselves from getting too emotionally invested in things we can't change. Boy, I was so emotionally and physically invested in that moment, wasn't I? But it didn't really matter. Nothing I did, pounding that steering wheel or shouting or anything else, made any difference in the rate of speed at which that guy chose to pump his gas. Boy, I was way too emotionally invested in what he was doing, and yet nothing I did had any effect on it. Number two, I would like to suggest that we learn or practice trying to keep things in perspective. I really believe that most of the things that tip us over, that bring us to the boiling point, are really small things. I mean, as that happened and I pulled in there and jumped out of my car and started pumping that gas, I had to tell myself, I said, whoa, Alan, calm down. Man, this is not worth it. This is not you. You need to chill out, dude, because this guy taking five minutes longer to pump his gas than what you think he should take is just not the end of the world. It just isn't. It had no effect on the rest of my, well, I started to say it had no effect on the rest of my life. It really had no effect on the rest of my day. So it was just too much emotional, physical energy, pressure invested in something that was that small, just so small. Third thing I would like to suggest for us is to learn to focus on the good that we can do for others through sharing and caring and giving. Because I promise you, the more that you can help others' needs be met, the more you can do to raise the level of joy, to bring the level of joy up for others, the more your level of pressure will go down. Now again, we've got to have some level of pressure just to keep going, but we don't want to have so much that we cause ourselves emotionally or physically or mentally to erupt or explode. Maintain that healthy level of pressure. Go out there, be better, and do good. If you enjoyed the video, go down below, give it a thumbs up, share it with your family and friends. Of course, subscribe to my channel. Videos come out every Monday morning. I appreciate you watching. We'll see you next week.